Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So today is October 16th, 2024, and I was randomly going through lists of best movies ever made since the year 2000. And this one that we're going to cover today just popped up. So I screened it. It's called Upgrade. Here's the Wikipedia page on the film. And you're not even going to believe this. Upgrade. Totally random, yet what you're going to see next is a character who resembles Elon Musk, whose name in the film is actually almost the same name as Elon Musk. It's Aaron instead of Elon. The guy even has the same birthday as Elon Musk in real life. The dates are like one day off. Now, what makes this film worth decoding is that the mad scientist in this movie, he makes a chip that hacks the nervous system, like Neuralink, and it results in a paraplegic being able to walk again in the movie. There's even self-driving cars in the movie, just like the Tesla autopilot. So, you're probably thinking to yourself, no big deal. Why wouldn't they make a movie about Elon Musk? Well, here's the problem. Are you ready for this? Neither Neuralink nor self-driving cars were a thing in 2017 when this was filmed. Now, it came out in 2018, but it was filmed in 2017, and I looked all this up because I had to know. They had barely announced some of this technology. Some of it wasn't announced yet. And it definitely wasn't to the degree of development that we know today in 2024, where, you know, there's self-driving cars everywhere, self-driving taxis, as well as Neuralink being experimented on paraplegics. This is all brand new. So, let's first, before we get into this, let's prove the point here about this being brand new information. Here's the Wikipedia page on Neuralink. And as you can see here, it wasn't announced until 2017, right around the time that this began filming, this movie that we're going to decode today called Upgrade. Nobody thought that this would be able to heal paraplegics. That's only been talked about this year. What about self-driving vehicles? Same thing. Again, it appears to be 2017 when these first driverless taxis were even being tested, and nobody really knew about them or talked about them. Now, let's jump right into this. Now, as I always do, I like to give you guys a little bit of the backstory so you're not completely lost with some of these decodes. The film is called Upgrade, and it's about a couple who gets ambushed in a driverless car. They're in a driverless car, and they get ambushed. And the wife is killed, and the man is paralyzed. Let's take a look at this.
I'm sorry, there has been an error.
What? Stop car.
I'm sorry, there has been an error.
Return to the freeway, destination home.
I'm turning left.
Car, stop.
Press the brake twice.
Now, at this point, the husband, whose name is Gray, he's approached by a rich billionaire who, this is the Elon Musk character. He offers him an implant, a neural interface with an artificial intelligence that can restore his ability to walk. Now, just this year, Elon Musk announced clinical trials with a paraplegic, just like in the film. Now, let's take a look here.
That computer chip that I showed you, it has the potential. Has the potential.
I don't know why this isn't playing. I was having some computer issues this morning, you guys, so apologies. But,
potential to change
There we go.
everything.
So this is the Elon Musk billionaire type character. And before I even looked this guy up, I thought he looked a lot like Elon Musk. Now, let's keep going here.
For people in your condition. What if I told you I could offer you something that would enable you to walk again? As a quadriplegic, the line connecting your brain to your limbs has been cut. STEM would bridge that gap. This is a world.
Now they call this thing STEM, and it looks like a little spider with little filaments coming off of it, like legs, which is exactly what Elon Musk is proposing with Neuralink.
First, never before has a biomechanical.
So this is them doing the surgery on him and making sure that it implants into his spine. Now in this case, it implants into his spinal cord, bridging the gap. Whereas in the case of the Neuralink, that goes into the brain, right? But it's essentially the same system.
Fusion been asked to do so.
So here they show the actual implant going in the back of the neck. Now we realize that this is also called the holy place. We saw the image of Christ in the back of the neck, and this is a common place for them to implant things and inject things in some of these science fiction movies.
Much. The key is to let it grow into itself. The neural pathways in your brain will be trying to have a conversation with a foreign body, trying to learn to pass the baton.
So there goes the chip in the back of the neck. Sorry for the graphics, but just understand that's not real, okay? Let's keep watching here. Now, what I was not expecting is what you're going to see next. That he and Elon Musk's birthdays are one day apart. Now, this guy's name is Harrison Gilbertson is his name, is the actor. And he was born, are you ready for this?
Now try to stand.
He was born on June 29th, 1993, is Harrison Gilbertson. And look at when Elon Musk was born. Did you see that also? Errol? So Aaron. Wait, let me back this up. I missed that the first time. His parents' name is Errol Musk, just like Aaron in the movie, E-R-O-N. Now, what makes this also weird is that Elon Musk was born in Gregorian year 53. Well, in the Hebrew year 5753 is 1993, the same year that this guy was born. So yes, there is a Hebrew calendar running alongside our Gregorian calendar. We talked a lot about this in the past. 5733 is when the World Trade Center opened. That was 1973. And we've tracked the Hebrew calendar ever since because this is what these people use. So this guy was born in the Hebrew year 53. That's what 1993 is. 5753 in the Hebrew calendar. And their birthdays are one day apart. Unbelievable. Now, Gray in the movie accepts the implant and now he can walk. But since he lost his wife, he is enraged and he wants to go on this revenge killing spree. And throughout the film, the implant talks to Gray, guiding him through the process of finding justice. And he
The body that came in.
and it can even take over his body to defeat his adversaries. Now, the whole movie is set in a city named New Crown. New Crown. And you're going to hear this mentioned in this as they're doing this autopsy on one of the super soldiers that were enhanced with a chip that Gray had killed during one of his, during his revenge spree. Let's take a look at this and listen to New Crown. Now, of course, this was before coronavirus, but yet here's the Crown mention. Now, I suspect whatever that was, whatever coronavirus was, whatever we all went through, where people lost their taste and smell and their nervous systems were affected, and then the cure, the quote-unquote cure, whatever that was, I believe that it was a very important part of the equation towards the final transhumanism. I believe that all of the nervous system symptoms from both the virus and the quote-unquote cure, they were not an accident. Let's keep watching here.
From New Crown yesterday, Sir Brantner. I want to show you what I found when I opened him up. I also found computer implants all throughout his chest. I found wiring embedded in the tendons. I'm thinking surgery, a medical implant attached to the muscle.
Now, at this point, as the movie starts to come to a close, Gray, this guy here, the paraplegic who was able to walk again, he finds out that it was the Elon Musk character that originally put out the contract on him and his wife so that he would be a willing lab rat for this interface. Now, we talked about this, you guys, how they quite possibly could have intentionally been allowing paraplegics to become that way. The soldiers in the Gulf War, they had an endless supply of paraplegics from these roadside bombs and all these things throughout the years. And those are the first people they experimented on. And many of us asked the question, remember there was all this controversy because they wouldn't reinforce the bottom of these military vehicles to prevent this from happening? Remember all that? And they weren't giving the soldiers the equipment to avoid some of these roadside bombs? Remember this? And I remember asking the question, hey, if we're spending all this money, we should be able to protect these soldiers, right? And they wouldn't. It was all about budgets, and we didn't have the money. Oh, now all of a sudden we have $58 billion to send to other countries to help with their defenses. But we couldn't protect our own soldiers, and maybe, just maybe, it was intentional so that they can do these experiments. Now, I know that's a little bit different than a spinal cord injury, but it all ties in together. It's all about restoring replacing the nervous system. Let's keep watching here.
Pure specimen without computer implants like you. I needed a human body to fully evolve.
Now I answer to someone much smarter than I ever could be. I don't run this company anymore.
And there is the big secret. Here, Elon Musk says, I don't run this company anymore. There's someone else in control. He's just the face of the company.
I haven't for years.
So, pretty darn accurate, right? Now, if you told people back in 2017 that many of the major cities in the world would have driverless cars, and that Musk was experimenting on paraplegics, or he would be in 2024, they would have called you crazy. They would have said that was a conspiracy theory, right? But yet, here we are. Now, I've got a few more headlines to cover with you guys today. And again, sorry about the technical difficulties. I had some issues with my computer. Trying to still figure it out. I don't know what's going on, you guys. It's weird. We had the comet last night come through. I did not see it because I'm in the tree line here. But you can imagine that maybe that has something to do with these electronic problems. Why is it I get a laptop and it only lasts about a year to 2 years? Always having electronic problems. So I'm not going to complain anymore because I know a lot of people are going through a lot worse stuff. But it's like the fighting the tide. It's like they don't want people to see the truth, and then so they disproportionately attack those who are trying to spread the truth. Now let's keep going here. Get into some of these other stories. Some weird stuff going on, you guys. Trump is basically doing these anti-transgender ads during football games. Now, to me, he seems to be a little bit confused because on one hand, he's celebrating gay marriage at Mar-a-Lago during the Marriage Act, where he got on stage and told the LGBTQ blah people that he had their back. This was on a Politico ad that he has never renounced as fake. In fact, he got a lot of grief about it on Truth Social. And people are like, why were you having a gay marriage act party at Mar-a-Lago? And he just didn't respond. Now, on the other hand, he's running these ads about transgenders during football games. And once again, it appears as though we have two Trumps. Now, of course, I'm conservative when it comes to these issues, but what is going on here? It's like we don't know what we're going to get with Trump. Now, you can argue, well, it's better to not know what we're going to get than to know what we're going to get with Kamala Harris. Well, that's exactly where they want you. That's exactly where they want you. Because once you give a vow and a vote, you sign up for whatever that person does. Now, apparently, Trump loves the YMCA song. He played that at the Marriage Act celebration at Mar-a-Lago just after it passed. Now, of course, we all know, as Joan Rivers famously quoted, we all know that the YMCA song is hailed by the LGBTQ crowd as pretty much a queer song, right? Everybody knows this. Well, apparently, this was one of the songs that Trump just played at a weird rally in which people started fainting. Multiple medical emergencies. People were fainting at this town hall meeting. And toward the end of this, Trump starts playing DJ and hand selecting songs on the fly, including the YMCA song, as people were fainting because they said it was so hot. You guys, this is really weird. And I'm going to read this story because this is bizarre. Trump plays music for supporters after a town hall cut short due to medical emergencies. Former President Trump cut questions short at a town hall with supporters in Battleground, Pennsylvania on Monday night after two lengthy interruptions because of medical episodes. Instead, the former president opted to play several of his favorite songs for the crowd. Trump held the event alongside South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, once floated as a potential vice presidential pick, in Oaks, where he repeatedly made clear the Commonwealth was the key to the electoral victory in November. The presidential nominee took questions from 5 supporters on topics that focused mainly on immigration and bringing down costs. But 2 separate answers were halted after attendees required medical attention. As they waited to continue, Trump asked his staff to play Franz Schubert's Ave Maria, one of his favorite songs, over the speakers. After the second interruption went on for several minutes, the former president said he had asked security to open the doors to the venue to alleviate some of the heat inside. Would anybody else like to faint? Please raise your hand, he said, after the second individual was helped to their feet. Rather than continue with questions, he indicated that he wanted his staff to play more of his music. They obliged, playing Time to Say Goodbye by Andrea Bocelli and It's a Man's World by James Brown. We could do another question or two if you'd like, Trump said, eliciting cheers from the crowd before changing his mind. How about this? We'll play YMCA and we'll go home. The Village People's YMCA blared over the speakers, and when many attendees remained inside, the music continued. Trump and Noem stood on stage as songs like Hallelujah, Nothing Compares to You, and Richmond, North of Richmond played. Something very special is happening in Pennsylvania right now at the Trump town hall. So, and it's interesting everyone's take on this, right? You've got the left saying that Trump is losing it, right? But then what they fail to talk about is that the crowd, a lot of them were fainting because this has basically become almost like a cult. These people falling out, almost as if he's like Elvis or something. And then you got to wonder, some of these people had eye problems, remember? Their eyes are like burning out of their head. We never did get down to the bottom of that. Well, these people are getting drugged or something. Something sent through the ventilation system to cause them to pass out, to make it look like Trump is so cool, right? I don't know, but wouldn't that affect him too if that was the case? I don't know, but it just seems weird. So understand that they are really ramping up this attack on Trump, which only will garner him more and more sympathy with the right. The more he gets attacked, the more the right will come to his aid and defense. Now, this last story is probably going to enrage you. FEMA now has a great excuse as to why they're no longer going door to door looking for survivors around Asheville. They now have what they call a good excuse as to why they are no longer going door to door to look for survivors. They're saying that they've been threatened by a sniper. Now look at this guy. Hold on, let me play this. This is unbelievable. Simply unbelievable. Let's see if we could get this guy's face on here. Now, what is up with all these lone wolf people? Who are they say are doing all this stuff? Let's scroll down here and see if his face is on here. This guy looks like every other lone wolf type. It's like they all came out of the same nursery. They've all got the same face. They all look the same to me. Let's try to play this, you guys. Oh, we'll have to refresh. That's what we have to do. Sorry. I'll work on my computer the rest of the day today, see if I can figure out what's going on. Let's refresh this and get this up for you guys. They all look like they came out of the same nursery. And I don't know what this is about, but it's super weird, isn't it? And then we can read this article too. Here he is. I mean, these guys look all the same to me. It's always a middle-aged white male with this blank stare on their face. Now, all of us remember some of those, remember some of these shooters. They look like clowns, some of them with their hair painted certain colors, but they all have this empty look on their face, like there's nothing behind the eyes. Super soldiers. Now let's read some of this. FEMA resuming normal North Carolina operations after scaling back due to threat. As the nearly 65,000 residents of hard-hit Rutherford County, North Carolina struggle to clear endless mud and debris left behind by Hurricane Helene, help hit a roadblock. FEMA were forced to relocate due to reported armed threat against workers. Now, does anyone in their right mind up there right now think that help coming would be an actual threat? Of course not. They're willing to accept any help that comes. They're just wondering why it didn't happen sooner. So this is all hogwash. Now, of course, they're saying what's driving all this is all the misinformation online. This is what's poisoning people's minds to not trust FEMA. Let's keep reading here. FEMA said later on Monday that it would resume normal operations because the threat turned out to be less serious than first feared. Initially, an email sent by U.S. Forestry Service to federal responders alerted them of an apparent stand down after National Guard troops reportedly encountered armed militia saying they were hunting FEMA. One person was arrested in connection to the threat. Out of an abundance of caution, FEMA said its disaster assistance teams were being stationed at fixed locations instead of going door to door. which has been the agency's common practice in the past. FEMA continues to support communities impacted by Helene and help survivors apply for assistance. For the safety of our dedicated staff and the disaster survivors we are helping, FEMA has made some operational adjustments. Disaster recovery centers will continue to be open as scheduled. Survivors continue to register for assistance. So, wow, just nuts. Just insane. All right, guys, I'm back in the chat here. Unbelievable. What do you guys think about all this? All right. Good morning. Jesus is King. Absolutely, amen. Looks like some of you are actually in the chat or from the area where this happened. It sounds like some of you have electricity. Is that what I just saw? My goodness. Yes. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, you must fill out the application. You must fill out the application. Who wants to fill out an application? Okay. How many decades have we been going through disasters and they just can't figure this out? They can't figure out a way to provide immediate assistance to people. They should have an entire plan waiting in huge airplane hangars, right? You've got a hurricane bearing down. You take the money that FEMA has allotted and you fill up a bunch of helicopters. I mean, are we going to have to spell this out for these people? And you stage them in the areas where the hurricane's supposed to come through. And you put them in giant airplane hangars that are in a safety zone away from the main path, but close enough to where you can hop in a helicopter within 12 hours or 8 hours and fly around and look for people. And how about this? How about FEMA starts mailing out huge flags or something to people who are in these areas? Hey, we're going to mail you a flag, or better yet, if you don't want us to know your address, we have these flags available in, at your town hall or something, or at the courthouse. And all you got to do, we'll send 1,000 flags, okay? And they're massive flags. And all you got to do, we have software in our helicopters that can pick up the color of this flag from, 5 miles away in the sky, okay? And then they drop off all these flags. Everyone goes and picks them up as the hurricane's coming into town, right? Like maybe because they know like a week out when these hurricanes are coming. And then everyone goes and picks up a flag and they've got this flag. And now let's say they get swept down the river and they're hanging out in a tree somewhere. Well, they grab this flag, this huge flag or whatever, a beacon, I don't know. Heck, with all the billions we're sending to Ukraine, I think they can probably afford a pocket beacon that could be picked up by a helicopter, right? So now you got a beacon in your pocket and you put it in your pocket and now you're swept down the river and you pull out your pocket and you turn the beacon on. And now within 3 or 4 or 5 hours, the helicopters, all they got to do is fly over the area and they say, oh, these beacons are going off. And then everybody survives, right? Except for the people that drowned. I mean, you guys, this is not rocket science. We've got technology they're always bragging about, and I'm sorry, but I'm upset. They're always bragging about all this technology that Ukraine is using to take it to the Russians. Oh, we have drones that just took out we had a $200 drone, took out a $12 million tank with this technology. I mean, am I right or wrong, you guys? But they can't make a pocket beacon that can be picked up by FEMA helicopters that are full of supplies and ladders that can come down and save people that are stuck in trees or inside of a mudslide. What if someone's under 2 feet of mud and they've carved out a little space for them to breathe for their last hour of life, and they can reach in their pocket and there's a pocket beacon, and they turn it on, and then FEMA shows up and they dig the person out of the mud. I mean, wouldn't that be the most amazing, heartfelt story that would reinstate people's faith in FEMA? Right? They actually saved someone that was on the edge of death. They'd have voters forever. But they can't seem to figure it out. Why do we live in this age of technology, and all the technology is being used against the people instead of for the people? It's pretty easy, and it wouldn't cost that much money, you guys. So I know that was a jumbled mess, but I was kind of trying to think of this off the fly. Okay, like, what would I do if I was president? Okay, you guys, we got a budget. We've got 1 million beacons, and those beacons get sent out to disaster-prone areas. We'll just drop them off at your local courthouse. You come pick them up if you want, if you know something's coming. If the beacon doesn't get used, it gets moved around to the next disaster area. So they drop them off in Nashville, right? Or all around there. People come pick them up. They don't get used, they return them, and then they take the beacons to the next hurricane zone, right? I mean, this isn't hard, you guys, especially with the technology we have now. But they make everything hard, don't they? They've got this huge bureaucracy of a bunch of people doing nothing. I mean, I know a lot of people are doing something, but we all have to admit, government by default has too many people working in it. Too many people standing around that have a title but aren't really doing a whole lot. So wouldn't this make their job much easier to be able to focus their efforts instead of just flying around in a search grid? And then as the successes begin to pile up, as they talk about all the people that were saved because they had a beacon, a FEMA beacon, right? Then all of a sudden more people will go, you know what, that's a good idea. Look, they don't have to know where I live. I just grab the beacon. I use it. As soon as the threat's over, I return the beacon, and it's over. It's done. So I don't know, you guys. I could just be making all this up. I don't know. Maybe this wouldn't work. I don't know, but to me, it just sure sounds like it would. Okay. And the thing is, it would be, you wouldn't have to have a beacon. If you didn't want one for whatever reason, don't get one. Right? So, strange times we're living in, you guys. Strange times where the obvious is not so obvious to most people. And this is why we have alternative media, so we can sit around and talk about this stuff. Now, this might be a horrible idea. And if it's a horrible idea, at least we're talking about some solutions, right? At least we're not just sitting around complaining about these things. Again, you would think after decades and decades of these natural disasters that they would have a plan in place. Because the most important thing when you're in an emergency situation is you want immediate help, right? That's the most important thing that you want. You want immediate help because time is of the essence. You know, here we are in this hurricane season, and you know what? We're already getting into, it was 30-something degrees last night. To spend one night through a natural disaster could mean death, hypothermia. Okay, and up in the Appalachians, they're up at elevation. So those nights were getting pretty cold. And there was no one there for them for days and days. But you get helicopters in the sky within the first 4 hours after the storm passes, and they're looking for beacons. The people who need the help get it right away. They're wasting less gas and all that stuff. So I don't even know why that beacon idea just popped into my head, but it did. And maybe a government official is sitting around and listening to this channel and actually wants to do something positive to help people. Well, the next time this happens, okay? Yeah, Kelly says it's a horrible idea, especially when it may save lives. Exactly. This is how they think. This is how they think. All right. What else is going on, you guys? Now, someone else had asked me, they said that weather manipulation is unbiblical. Well, I tend to disagree with that. And I'll tell you why. And I politely disagree. I'm not mad at you because you think that weather manipulation is unbiblical. But God promised that he would never destroy the earth with flood again. So what do you think's happening now? Well, the enemy, the prince of the power of the air, is what he's called in the Bible, which means he has some power in the air, right? He's trying to upstage biblical prophecy. Most of biblical prophecy talks about the opposite of rain and storms. It talks about, destroying the earth with the earth being destroyed by fire, and a third of the green grass being burned up, and the oceans being poisoned. So what better way for the enemy to try to confuse everyone in the last days by doing the opposite of that? Oh, global warming, too much rain, too much this, too much that. If you think about it logically, that seems to make sense. There's a second reason why I disagree with that assumption. And that is, if you look at all the occult imagery and all the occult discussions surrounding the devil, he oftentimes presents as the rain man. There are several demons associated with rain, isn't there? Even Tlaloc was the rain god, and they would sacrifice to him so that rains would come. And when the Tlaloc statue was moved out of a town near Mexico, they had an extended drought period at that point. Now, I know it seems impossible that the enemy could affect and control weather, but it's actually the truth. So those are some arguments against assuming that the enemy has no power to control weather. Okay. All right. What else is going on, you guys? Crazy times. All right. All right, guys, I guess I'm going to pop off here, work on this computer a little bit. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I love each and every one of you, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Much love.